Yeah, hello, good evening, everybody. You're welcome to 30 Days of Code, hosted by Codeflex. My name is Emmanuel, and throughout the 30 Days of Code, I will be your technical mentor. And God so good, we are looking at web app development in general, but we'll be specifically be talking about front end development as an area of web app development. So, like, what is web app development? Web app development encompasses everything and persons that in one way or the other make contribution to the sources of existence of a functional website. What do I mean by that? There are different components that comes together to make the dream of a website come to reality. All these are areas of web app development, right? There are designers, there are product managers, there are front-end developers, back-end developers, there are many, there are testers and all of that. But for the purpose of this challenge, we were looking majorly at front-end development. Now, the people who who chooses the who chooses to specialize in front-end development and bring convert um, web designs into code are called front-end developers. So to be a front-end developer, there are a lot of tools at your disposal. You know, so some of these tools are what we'll be looking at. I will only mention a few, but there are lots more of them. Like if you want to be a front-end developer, there are so many things you have to familiarize yourself with. But most importantly, you have to understand HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That is the foundation of front-end development. Although there are many other additions, frameworks, and libraries like React, Vue, Angular, you have Tailwind CSS, you have Bootstraps. They are all there to make things easier for you. But for the purpose of this challenge, we will looking majorly at HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And for this challenge to be smooth and consistent with everybody, there are some tools I'm going to list here which you will need to prepare yourself with and get ready in your computer system. One of it is VS Code. Throughout this process, we are going to be using VS Code. So if you do not have, I will advise you check out your app store and download VS Code and also add the extension of Live Server so that we'll be able to see live when you are coding. Then you also have to install Git. You go to Git's documentation website and you can download Git for whatever device you are using there. And then you have to also register an account with GitHub because you are going to also be pushing your codes to GitHub. For now, I think that's the most paramount things that you are going to need to be up and going with this challenge. So, without wasting much of our time, this is just an introduction to what we are going to be doing in this challenge. So, I would like to take us through some of those tools which we are going to be using so that we can at least familiarize ourselves with it and they won't look so new to us when we start using them. And the first thing I'm going to look at today is Git, right? Like VS Code, I don't need to talk much about VS Code because all you need to do is VS Code is a text editor. All you need to do is go to your app store and download VS Code and install it to your system. Then go to the extension and also add the extension of Live Server. What I mean is this: I can't download VS Code because I already have it installed. Now, when you run your VS Code, you are going to see something like this, although I already have a folder open. You are going to see something like this. So when you come down to this place, you will see extensions. You click on it like this and you can search for whatever extension you are looking for. For me, I'm saying you are going to be needing live server, right? So you can see lots of live servers there, but you will just select and install. I think this particular one, this very first one by Zitwick there is what I am using. So you can see that I cannot install it because I have it already installed. So it's not showing install. So that's all. That's the elementary thing you need so that while you are writing your code, you can be seeing it live on the browser, right? So now let's quickly look at Git. Like I said, let's go to coming. Let's come to this list. Okay, this is Git's documentation website. Let me just go to the main job, the main home, right? So this is the Git homepage. If you look at it, you can see downloads here. So for you to download Git into your system, you just click on this and select your device here, right? Simple. You have it installed in your system. And when you install Git in your system, it comes with a command environment, a Git command environment, which is Git Bash, which you are going to be using all through, right? That's what we are going to be using all through this challenge. But because I already have Git installed, I will not be able to say I want to install it again. So if I come to my apps, I want to check my apps. Let's say I just want to even search. If I say Git Bash, you will see that it's already there in my system. So I can just run it by clicking on it. Alright. So when I run it and click on it, I'll now navigate to the folder I want, or I can now create a folder. So now, to make it easy, instead of having to navigate, open Git Bash and begin to look for where you want to go and use it, if you have a folder already created in your computer system, like if you look at my desktop, right? If you look at my desktop, I have this folder, Codeflex, right? So all I can do is enter into Codeflex. Right now, I'm inside Codeflex. I will just right click because I already installed Git Bash, Git in my computer. Git Bash is going to come here. It's going to show up here as an option. So I will just click on Git Bash, right? And allow it to load. Now it has loaded. Here is my Git command environment where I can type my Git commands, right? It does not finish loading. When it finishes loading, you will see that it has finished loading. When it finishes loading, it's going to show you the path, the direct path where I am now. You can see it that I am in desktop and I am inside Codeflex folder because I open Git inside this folder. I open Git Bash inside this folder. I don't need to navigate to Codeflex. I am already there because that's why I open it. So fine. What is Git in the first place? Git is a version control system that tracks changes in our code. What that means simply means is this. If I have a code and I make changes consistently, Git is what makes a snapshot of the changes I'm making and keep them for me so that at any given point in time, I can always go back to those snapshots, right? I don't know if it's going to make sense that way. Let's say, for instance, I have a web designed and the background is black, the text color is white 2 days ago. Then today, I decide to change the text color to purple, right? That means today I now have a different version of my website because the version I used to have is white text, but now I'm having another version that has purple text, right? So that has already changed my website. So Git is going to have a snapshot of what I was having before, which is white text. So that if by next tomorrow, for instance, someone now come and meet me and say, Mr. Emmanuel, you changed your web text color to purple. It used to be white. It was actually better the way it was. And I begin to consider it. Somebody is telling me that my website was better with the white color it was having. So assuming it's not just color, I'm going to have issues having to remember what it used to be and trying to refix it. But with GitHub, but with Git, because it has created a snapshot of what I used to have, I can just navigate back to that version and it replace my website with it. So that is why it is called a version control system, right? Okay, so how do we, after now that we have already installed Git or we are in Git Bash, how do we start using Git? How do we start using Git? Now I am inside a folder. The fact that I have Git installed in my computer does not mean that whenever I'm coding, Git will be making a snapshot. No, I need to go and install it like a camera in whatever folder I want it to keep track of changes. I have to install it there so that if it's now there, it can now keep track of changes that I am making. So how do I do that? I am inside this particular Codeflex folder and I want to install this camera there, which is the Git that is going to be taking a snapshot of all my changes. So how do I do that? I initiate Git there by using the command git init. Sorry, git init and enter. Right, I have created Git, I have initiated Git there. If you come to my Git or my VS Code, you see that my code flex is open down in my VS Code and automatically you are now seeing Git there, which was not there before because I have now initiated Git. I have now installed a camera in there. So this camera is going to take note of every changes that I am making, right? So now there's no change now, right? I'm going to go to my GitHub and add changes. What change do I want to add now? I want to create a subfolder, right? Inside my GitHub, I'm going to say make dir, right? I want to say introduction. Oh, sorry, introduction. Right, I have created a folder inside my Codeflex folder, right? Let's look at it here. Can you see that I now have Git and introduction inside Codeflex, right? So now Git is now aware that something has happened. It has actually made a snapshot and save it for me. How do I know? Let me come to this place and check status. Git status. Sorry, git log. Fata. Oh, sorry. That was actually wrong. What I want to do is to see if there are actually changes that have been made already. So I'll say git what? Git status. Sorry. What's that one? So when you check the status of my Git, no commit yet. No commit yet. There is something has been created, right? But Git is telling me that, hey, something that even though something has been created, you have not yet told me to do anything to what has been created, right? That's it. So for me to now tell Git, right, to do something to it, I will first of all need to I will first of all need to select what I want Git to do something to, and then save it. So how do I do that? I say Git, um, let's say for instance, I want to move, let me first of all move into the folder I just created, CD introduction. You are going to notice something, CD introduction, right? I want us to notice something. I'm moving into that introduction folder. Now I'm inside the introduction folder. Then inside the introduction folder, I want to create a file. I'll say index dot html, right? Sorry, creating a folder. I will use touch. Say touch, right? Index.html. So you use make dir mkdir to create a directory folder, while you use touch file name to create file. Okay, so I'm creating this file. Good. Now a file has been created inside my introduction folder. If I open this introduction, you'll see that a file is already there. Let me even minimize this, right? Then I will come again and say I want to create another file, touch in no, this time around styles.css. Good. Are you seeing that I have created another style, and immediately I created it, it pops up there. So I now have two files um in my Git, in my introduction. So I can now say, okay, I want to check the status of my Git. Let me see what's my Git app. I will say Git status again. What did I write? Oh, sorry. I have actually not selected the file. Sorry. So now let's not miss anything. Now I have created my Git. I have installed Git. What I've done now is I've installed Git. I have initiated Git in a particular folder. Like I said, it's like a camera, and I'm telling it to monitor every changes that I have made inside this folder and keep a snapshot of it for me. For whenever I need it, I want to always come back to them and see what I did there. So for me to be able to save, even though Git know that something has happened, it's not going to save it automatically for me. I still need to tell it to do so. So how do I do that? I will first of all select the file, right? And then I will save it using commit, right? So how do I select? Now, all I need to do is to say git add and the file name, right? But because I have more than one file and I want to select all of them, I will just say git space add space period, right? What I mean is this git add period, right? And let's see what we're going to have there. Let it load. Good. So I have staged what I have done now in Git. In Git is called staging. So I have staged my file. What it means is that I have selected the files that I want to save. Right? If I check status now, Git status, you will see that it's no longer telling me. You see that I have staged two files. Are you seeing them? New files, index.html and styles.css. So now that I have selected these two files, now time for me to save it. What do I save it with? I save it with the commit, right? I will say commit, git commit m for message, and putting inside inverted column, inverted comma. I want to write a message. It is this message that will always make me remember what I did at this particular commit, at this particular save in this my local repository, right? So I'm going to say created, right, or added. Let me just say added index file, index and CSS file, right? So I have now, my Git has seen a change. I have selected that change and I have saved it. That's all. But this is where GitHub now come into play. Everything I have done is inside my local machine, right? My local system. I have created folders and saved them in my local system. And now if I move into the HTML, for instance, and add file, let's say I want to just add boilerplate and say, sorry, and say I'm coming here and say H2. I am just an introduction, right? Okay, that's all. And I'll still come here and say introduction. We are going to come to this place. This is HTML, but we'll get there. I'm just trying to, you know, make us understand something. So now I have another change. You see that the color immediately changed, right? Immediately there are changes. This color has changed from what it used to be to this particular color, telling me that a change has occurred, right? So fine. Now we have our HTML. I have added content to my HTML file that I created. Now the question is, where does GitHub now come into place? This is where GitHub come into place. Everything I have done is in my local machine. Nobody have access to it unless I bring it to my, my office and open my laptop for you to see. That's the only time you have access to my code. But if I want to share this code with people online, people who are not even in my place or people who are not around me, I need to push this code to a place where they will be able to have access to it, right? Sorry, I want to check something. Okay, okay, we are still. I want to be sure I'm still recording. Okay, so we want to push this code to somewhere where everybody can access it, or whoever I want to access it can access it, because the sole purpose of Git and GitHub is for code sharing and collaboration. Assuming I have up to 5 persons working on a particular project and I have my project shared among 5 developers, everybody make their own contribution and this code is supposed to come together and become one project, right? The only way we can do that is when we have a unified place where all our code can be meshed together or all our code can be viewed, right? I should be able to view your code and look at it and say, okay, it's okay, we can add it to our main project. You should be able to look at mine and say that. But if I just leave it in my machine, you have to come to my place before you'll be able to see it. But with GitHub, right, I can just push whatever I have in my local machine into that remote repository in my GitHub, so my team can have access and view what I have done. Simple. So that's what GitHub does. So we are going to quickly dash to GitHub so that we'll just follow everything one after the other. So GitHub, sorry, github.com. If you don't have an account, it's going to log into my account because I have an account. Yeah, this is my dashboard. But if you don't have an account, you are going to have to create an account. And after creating your account, it's still going to log you to this place whenever you load the website for the first time, right? So all I need to do here is to create a repository. What is a remote repository? It is a folder, right? What I want to do is I want to create a folder on the web, on the internet, where I will push what I have in my local machine into for every other person to be able to access. That is what repository is. So I will just come here to create my repository and I'm going to call it intro. I want to make it short, as short as possible. I'll call it intro, right? I can decide to give it a description. I can make it private or public, but let's leave it as public. I can add a README file if I want, but I won't because I can always add at any time. So I will just create my repository, and that's all, right? That's when my repository is created. You will see that everything we have been doing since is here. Echo intro, git init, add git read. That's why I say I can always add a readme file. Add a readme file, commit, git branch, moving from one branch to another. If you want to move to main, git remote is the next thing we are going to do. Now, the fact that I have git installed in my computer, I have changes being made inside my code does not mean that my code is now going to be on GitHub. No, because I have created a repository on my GitHub does not also mean that my code in my local machine will just be going to my GitHub repository. No, I still have to let my Git know that there is a folder somewhere where I am going to be pushing my code to. So I need to link my local remote repository that I have created in my GitHub with my Git. So that is the next step we are going to do. So all I will do is after creating my repository, I will just copy this repository. This is the repository, this is the folder, right? So I will just copy it. I will just click here and copy, and then I'll come back to my git bash and say I want to link it. So I will say git remote, because it's the remote I want to add. Git remote add origin, and I will paste that code that I have copied, right? I'll paste it here. It's going to come with some gibberish because of the way I am selecting it. I'm going to have to remove this or this just addition because of, so this is how it actually is. So I am now told Git to connect to my GitHub, my local Git to connect to my GitHub repository. So I'm saying git remote add this origin, right, which is my repository, my remote repository. And Git is going to understand that and connect with it. Done. That's all. That's all. But I have connected it. That still doesn't mean that my code will be going there. I still need to send my code there. Right? I have to send it there. It won't just be jumping there on its own. So if I refresh this page, for instance, right, it's still where it is. There's nothing there, is not noticing anything because I have not sent anything to that repository. Immediately I send something to that repository, the repository GitHub is going to my repository is going to be aware that something has entered and it's going to display it to me. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to do what? Push my changes into my repository. And how do I do that? I push it. I use git push. I use the push command. So I will say git push origin main, right? Because I'm actually in the main branch. And I'll wait patiently for my Git to push my code to my repository in my GitHub, right? So I'll wait patiently until it's done. It's almost done. Good, it's done. Now, if I come to my GitHub and refresh, right, you will see that my introduction is now there. I have pushed my introduction into this place. And if I open the introduction, you will see that it contains two files, HTML and CSS. And if I open my HTML file, is sorry, and there's HTML. Okay, sorry. This is my HTML file. It's supposed to actually display the code, right? Although my CSS is empty. It's supposed to display my code, right? Because I actually have code in there, right? Oh, have I? Since I created, oh, okay, good, good, good. You see, I when I created the files, right? I staged them and I committed them before I went to add content to my HTML. So what I have pushed is the files that I have created. The change of adding content has not reflected. So if I go back to my GitHub and check, right, what I need to do is to update my GitHub, my Git. I need to update it. I need to tell it to capture the current changes. It's aware that there are current changes, but I have not told it to save it for me, right? So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to first of all again say git status. Let me even see, right? To check the status of my git. And it's telling me that I modified the HTML. And you can you see that I modified the HTML, right? That was that was after my last commit. So there's a change. That's what it's telling me. So I need to add that change. So I'll say git add, right? Because I'm just assuming that there are more and I'm adding all of them at a time. I can actually just say git add index.html. That's me selecting a file. So I've added that and I also want to commit, I want to also commit that. I'll say git commit m, git commit m, and I'm adding a message. I will say um, added content, content to my index.html, right? So that's my commit. Now the file that I have saved, what I have done now, I have selected the file and saved, but it's in my local machine. So for that, because it's in my local machine, if I refresh, I will still be where I am. For it to reflect that, I need to push my current change, right? So I'll say git push origin main, just as I have done before, and wait patiently for it to push that current change to my GitHub. So now it's done. Now if I refresh my GitHub, boom, the change is there. So whenever I want to share this code with somebody, right, I will just copy that same repository link which I got from here, introduction, right? Sorry, I will just come back completely to intro and come to code. When I click on this, you see the this is the repository here. I will just copy. So I can share this URL with anybody. And when you click on it, it's going to take you to my work, to the work I have done. So that will be all for today. Thank you for your time. See you again in the next section.